What's something from 10 years ago that doesn't exist now? Male white rhinos. Damn. For clarification that you/our jetniks would also probably appreciate. This fella means the northern subspecies. There's both a northern and southern subspecies of white rhinoceros. The southern subspecies is actually doing fairly well fortunately. Less fortunately the northern subspecies is likely slated to go extinct. It sounds like we've only got the sperm from one of the last males, and it was collected at an old age. Furthermore, one of the females is also of an advanced age as well. This makes pregnancy with the limited supply to be unlikely, which tragically lowers the odds of another male being successfully born even more. To make matters worse, if it is against the odds successful, we now have a breeding population of creatures that are all close relatives, but there is some hope that maybe the northern white rhinoceros won't be an answer to this question 2 or 3 decades down the road. Thanks to advancements in technology surrounding impregnation, it sounds like conservationists will attempt to use sperm and eggs that they've collected from the northern subspecies and have females of the southern subspecies act as a surrogate. A fine plan at first, but the matter of all born individuals being relatives and being born of, shall we say, less than reliable sperm and eggs still remains. 2011 already seems like a million years ago. It'll go with Sears stores. They've been gone from Canada for a while now. Zellers. This is how I know I'm old. 2011 seems like yesterday to me. Netflix streaming that had everything in one ducking goddamn place. Just wait until Netflix is all originals, because non-Netflix productions will move to their own streaming services. I miss when the Netflix algorithm knew me better than me. I found so many cool movies and shows I would have never glanced at before. Now the algorithm is so much trash. Or how about Netflix DVD by mail? I think they might still offer that service, so to phrase it as something that practically doesn't exist, knowing someone who does DVD by mail. Tumblr porn. So much Tumblr porn. Tumblr as a whole. Ever since they banned porn, a lot of people stopped caring about them. I miss old Tumblr. Most of the artists I liked left when porn got banned. Plus Tumblr had the best porn, and I never had to worry about downloading a virus from saving a pic. So much good porn, but also a lot more bad porn. Deleted. They killed it for Skype, and look at where Skype is now. Microsoft is so dumb sometimes. Why not just upgrade MSN Messenger? Put video chat on it. It would have been a killer app. Nothing better than coming home after school and logging on to MSN to chat with long distance friends. Good days lol. What's strange is that modern messaging apps like FB Messenger, WhatsApp and Discord are all pretty darn similar to MSN Messenger, but I still find myself missing the OG. I think there was something special about that time period and having the time to chat for hours with friends and crushes as a teenager. Edit. Yeah, everyone wants to school me on ICQ being the OG. I get it. Look. For a lot of people MSN was their OG. Cool it. Flash games, well, many of them got saved on Blue Maxima, but there were still undoubtedly millions more that didn't get saved. Good old days of when Newgrounds was good. Stick RPG. Mothaload. Tower defense games. Learn how to fly. Borders bookstore. This one hits hard. I miss Borders so much. I preferred Borders to Barnes and Noble so much and was sad when it went out of business. They should have done what Barnes and Noble did to survive. Put a Starbucks inside their store. Still exist here in Malaysia. Holy cow, I can't believe they've been gone only 10 years. Feels like a lifetime ago. I studied at my local Borders every day after school for like 2 or 3 months for my app exams. One of which I wasn't even doing as a class in school, and they had the best Oreo frappe thingy. Literally the best. Good free apps that you only had to pay once for. I really miss the free app or buy app option. WTF would I subscribe to Scrabble for $7 a month? For real, the .99c app that literally does what it says without bull deuce or ads. Yeah, good mobile content died fast. Deleted. Bro, minidiscs were awesome. Hundreds of songs on a coated cartridge that couldn't be scratched or messed up like a CD. I really wish they'd have caught on more. Stumploopin.com. I honestly miss when the internet was more than just Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, and a couple others. The internet used to feel so much bigger. Man, I would spend hours on StumbleUpon back in the day. Found a ton of awesome sites and resources. I loved Stumble. Found so many awesome sites. The ability to up/downvote/reply a 10 years old Reddit post/comment. Or dislike YouTube comments. This makes me feel so old, but Blockbuster, Radio Shack, and Circuit City. Radio Shack is the only place I can ever think of when people come into my work looking for fuses that we don't carry or can't get. I honestly don't know where to refer them to anymore. Radio Shack was the place to go for that stuff. Circuit City wasn't around 10 years ago. They closed in 2009. My left leg. Damn bro. Username checks out. Boy, that escalated quickly. Phones with keyboards. BlackBerry is making a 5G phone with a keyboard. There is BlackBerry Key 1 and Key 2. I'm actually typing this post on a BlackBerry Key 2. Having a limited number of text messages. Like a literal number LMAO edit. OMG, rip my inbox a little LMAO. Most orange arrows ever. Thanks for all the comments. Also, this was definitely more a thing towards the mid 2000s for sure. I just didn't realize that 2011 was 10 years ago. Wow. Yes. I remember when my mom let me upgrade from 500 to 3000 a month. I was stoked. It was life changing back then LMAO, and that counted replies to, so if your friends had unlimited you had to make sure they didn't text too much and use up all your texts. Toys R Us. Come to Canada. They're as busy as ever up here. When Toys R Us was shutting down, a Canadian company bought Toys R Us Canada and kept them open. Coming soon to theaters. Now it seems, if you want to see a movie you got to make sure you have whatever streaming device it's exclusively going to be in, and they're like 50 plus out there now it seems like. Vine. TikTok will never get on Vine's level. I don't care what anyone says. Why did Vine get cancelled? I miss that app so much. Had so many laughs. Cartoon Fridays. Miss that deuce. Also, Facebook games. Not those stupid games you play on Messenger. I'm talking about Cityville, Mayfair Wars 2, Cafe Life, Farmville, It Girl and all those other games. Mayfair Wars was my jam lol. Cartoon Network in general, before it became a never-ending loop of Teen Titans Go. Truck that freaking abominable insult of a show. Don't forget all those random quizzes you could take. Those were such innocent days. AIM, they officially shut it down in 2017. I have so many great memories from high school with AIM. And also a crapload of cringy memories of my first attempts at online flirting in middle school. Oh god. The amount of time and effort I used to put into my AIM away messages, so people would think I was doing something cool like going out to parties, when I was really just walking around the mall eating Cinnabon with my friends, or watching SpongeBob with my little brother. Still remember having AIM, Google Chat, MSN Messenger, and ICQ all together under trillion back in the day. People needing to be reminded that this refers to 2011, not 2001. Yeah, I should be seeing answers like iPhones had home buttons, not stuff about payphones, but 10 years ago it was 1991, right? Keha's career, she was huge in 2010, but has been virtually on hiatus due to a legal battle against her producer. She still makes music, but she's nowhere near as popular as she was a decade ago. There are young'uns now who don't even know who she is. They associate TikTok with only the app, and have no idea it was a chart topper in 10. She came to my city for a concert about 2 years ago. Friend asked if I wanted to go, so I thought sure, why not. She did not even fill one quart of the venue. It was sad, which is really sad, because Kesha's last 2 albums were great. She's criminally underrated. Thanks to the indecent assaulter that ripped down her career, she has my respect for what she have done in music industry. I think she did have a song in 2017 that did pretty well. Movie trilogies. You never just a trilogy of films and that's the end. It all has to be a never-ending series and a cinematic universe. Edit. I'm glad people are just as upset at this as I am. Wow. Thanks other likes Edit too. It was worse when the brief trend of trilogies ending with a 2-parter. Why not just call it the 4th one? Edit 3. Thanks again for the great responses. Never thought the like marker would reach this high. One reason for that. Money. Affordable houses. 2012 was the bottom, unattainable for many first-time buyers now. The median house price in Sydney is 1.68 million. Australian house prices have compounded at 7% for 30 years. Wages have increased 3%. If you parents aren't rich, you can't afford a house. iPods. Still going strong with my iPod Classic to this day. The nostalgia factor is too strong to give it up. Where else will I listen to my cringy middle school playlists? My second generation iPod Touch is still going strong. Used to love bringing that friker to the gym with me in the days before the plague. I attribute its longevity to 1, the poophead-to-proof case, and 2, jailbreaking it. Text me after 9. Late 90s and early zeros people understand this. Or call me after 5. Having it not feel like the world is losing its collective mind more and more each week. I dunno. As someone born in the mid-90s, I've been getting more and more disappointed in world leadership since 9/11. I have been in a constant state of worrying about my future since I was like 7. Daft Punk. Too soon. Search engines results that actually show you useful results and makes researching fun and interesting. Now it's just whoever can pay the most to be seen first, or some stupid crap to try and get you to think a certain way. I miss the good old days. Google was actually great. It had ads, but they were very thin. Like one small line and clearly in green text to let you know it was an ad. What you were actually looking for was top 3 results. Now you have to scroll past several ads. And some of the ads are tricky. And there are always several garbage websites/blogs that are whatever I see a kid for .com. I shudder to think what Google will be in 10 years. Just ads popping and playing all over your screen like YouTube. I've tried alternatives like DuckDuckGo, but at the moment they just seem to not have the indexing/algorithm down pat. I hope in the next few years a strong competitor emerges. Taylor Lautner has good in the show Incompetent Malou. I'm not sure why, but he randomly left after his 3rd season on the show. It is a British show, so he probably wants to move on with his career in the US. But he hasn't really done anything since. He even skipped Shark Boy and Lavageril too. Had to look that one up. Forgot about Twilight Llama Guy. Pressing internet button on your phone accidentally, then spending 2 minutes frantically pressing the back button for fear of charging your parents what felt like hundreds of dollars to load Google lol. Oh my god. Memory unlocked. Oh god. To this day I remember the terror of getting my phone out of my bag and seeing that it had been open on the internet. For how long? What was this going to cost me? Although I think that was actually longer than 10 years ago. But still. This comment triggered some trauma. What? I had 2 gigs of data 11 years ago. This seems more like a 2004 kinda thing. AHH. The fear of accidentally pressing the dreaded internet button. And hoping you haven't accidentally bankrupt your parents. That. And phones back then. When you dropped it, you're not afraid it's gonna crack the screen. You don't want it to drop on and break your foot. So, truck nestle for so many reasons. But back in the day there were Willy Wonka fudge chocolate bars that I still remember as being the best chocolate I've ever had till this day. I'd kill to have me one of those damn Willy Wonka hot fudge chocolate bars, but truck nestle for all the poop they do, and then on top of that, depriving me of the single best chocolate bar I know I'll have. Either too many people were killed in its production or it wasn't profitable enough. Could be both with Nestle. Let's be honest, Nestle wouldn't stop because it killed too many people unless it became expensive to remove the bodies. User repairable Apple products. I still use an iPhone 5s. I can replace battery and full screen assembly myself for under $30. And the aluminum case is a tank. The parts are so cheap that last time I ordered a new screen, the parts supplier emailed to tell me they refuse to sell to me anymore unless I buy in bulk. Mail arriving at its destination in 3 to 5 days. It was that way until last year when a certain jackass decided to destroy a ton of mail sorting machines. Club Penguin. When they were shutting it down, my daughter was letting her collage classes go to get that one last weekend. It was incredible how many college kids went crazy that last week. My perky boobs. Swing low sweet chariot. As a mom to an almost 1-year-old, I can confirm that my perky boobs have also gone missing. I, too, choose this girl's dead boobs. Yeah, before I stopped wearing bras and now fierce ad titties. God yes, had a baby 2011. Got fat 2012/13. Had a breast reduction 2016 because they got too big. Now they shaped weird BC of the scars. I don't regret getting the reduction though. Really helped my back. Immortal words from whose line? Do your tits hang low? Do they wiggle to and fro? Can you tie 'em in a knot? Can you tie 'em in a bow? Cheap Bitcoin. Wasn't it like half a cent when it started out? Got $100 in that and you would have 895,488,000 now. My desire to be popular in a group of buttholes. I dunno. I still find myself trying to talk about my day at the family dinner table. And yet here you are 10 years later. A redditor/s. I never had one of those. Why do you think it was? Are you happier now? DC's New 52. Comics that don't suck. In general. The New 52 ended? Did they go back to the old timeline or something? Phineas and Ferb. Hold up. My kids watch Phineas and Ferb all the time. Wanna talk good Disney Channel? Even Stevens. Privacy. It had already ended. But we were mostly still blissfully ignorant in 2011. Username checks out. Mine left me when I went military that year. I have yet to see it after leaving active duty. SMH. Forever looking now. That was going to be lost the moment we gave government the ability to censor and regulate media. Jeff was a really big deal in middle school. We went to different elementary schools, so I never even heard of him prior to middle school, but as soon as I got to middle school his name was going around the school a lot, and it became clear he was a big deal. Jeff was the toughest guy in our grade. The most athletic, the best looking, and the coolest according to both the guys and the girls. The guys wanted to be his friend, and if they weren't then they were wary of him because of how tough he was, and he gave off that vibe that he wasn't someone to make angry. All the girls loved him, and he was making out with girls and going out with them all the time. He even went out with at least 2 girls a year ahead of us in school, and one of them was the most popular girl in her grade. This was basically unheard of, but he did it. He was in my class in the 6th grade, and it became pretty clear that despite his coolness, toughness, and ability with the girls at a young age, Jeff had some problems and couldn't control himself that well. He would act out in funny ways by causing mischief and trouble, but he would also act out in less funny yet troubling ways by doing things like smoking cigarettes on school grounds with other troubled kids, and he would occasionally get physical with any guy dumb enough to piss him off. Because of this, he got detentions and suspensions. He was born on September 11th, and on 9/11 I have no recollection of him being at school that day, although I'll bet that he was. I remember sitting in our class and being glued to the TV for a while as our teacher anxiously looked on in horror and us young kids didn't know what the hell was happening. Jeff would usually act out and get into trouble, but that day it's like he wasn't even there, even though he likely was. His birthday was ruined. That year our class had a field trip to some place that I don't remember, but I do remember the bus ride to and from the trip. Jeff and I were on the same bus, and for some reason still unknown to me, he decided to sit next to me. On the way there he was talking to me about different things, and since I thought he was a bully and tough, and I was afraid of him, I just was nice and would listen, and then follow up with questions, and try to interact with him, and he seemed to be cool with that. Then at some point he started talking about his home life and his dad, and he said that his dad would hit him upside the head. When he told me this, he had his eyes averted and sort of looking down, and he said it kind of like it was a joke, but I could tell that he was upset by it and was trying to play it off cool and by acting like it wasn't some big deal. On the bus ride back to school we stopped at some place and there were these vending machines that some kids were getting snacks out of. I went to get myself a snack and a drink, and I got my drink but something happened when I tried to get my snack. I can't remember what it was exactly. It may have been that I thought I had more money than I did, and when I went to get my snack I came up short for money. Or it could have been that the machine ate my money. Whatever happened, I couldn't get my snack, and I was upset because I was pretty hungry. Without asking him or saying anything, Jeff just stepped in front of me and said I got you and put $1 in the machine for me so I could get my snack. Then we sat next to each other on the way back to school after that. At some point during that year we had a substitute teacher for our class and some kids were acting out and I was laughing because it was funny. Our substitute was a middle-aged woman and she was not happy at all. She was yelling at us to shut up and knock it off, and she physically grabbed me by the shoulders and then started pushing me downward into my chair and desk, and I was frightened by it. I was scared and didn't know what to do, and she was hurting me. When class ended, Jeff grabbed me by the arm and said, "Come on, we're going to the office," and he basically pushed me and pulled me down the hallway to the principal's office. I wasn't going to say no to the guy in a million years because I was afraid of him. We get to the office and he does all the talking and tells the principal what happened while I just sit there in silence, nodding each time that the principal asks me if what Jeff is saying is true. See, the principal had and would go on to have numerous run-ins and issues with Jeff because Jeff could not behave and kept getting into trouble way too often. The principal was wary of him and didn't trust him much, and I suppose he had good reason not to. However, I still remember the concerned look on his face when Jeff was telling him what happened. When Jeff was done talking, we left the office and the principal said he'll look into the incident, and that's all I remember. I figured that Jeff was just using me to act out and cause trouble or give the principal a headache in having to deal with him yet again. I was too afraid of Jeff to say to him that I didn't want to go to the office, so what happened happened, and that was that. Jeff was expelled from school early in the 8th grade. Word spread around the school quickly because the kid was such a big deal. I don't remember why he got kicked out exactly or what the final straw was. He basically disappeared in 2003 and I never saw him again, or so I thought. He was off my radar for years, and I had heard that he got kicked out of his second school after he got kicked out of ours, and then in high school he got kicked out of a Catholic school and then wound up at a pretty crappy public school. I didn't know at the time whether he even finished high school or not. In the fall of 2007 I was a senior in high school and I was hanging around at a friend's house after a party ended on the weekend. Seemingly out of nowhere, Jeff shows up with a guy I used to be friends with in earlier years. I hadn't seen Jeff since 2003. He was still big, looked about 6'3", and still had that kind of socially and physically dominant way about him. He was joking around with the guy he came with, and he playfully pushed him on the shoulder after making a joke, and the guy almost lost his balance and fell over. Jeff just couldn't help it. Being the alpha male and dominant is how he always was. I was sitting on the couch with my friend and the guy who hosted the party, and then the guy who almost got pushed over smiled at Jeff a bit and said, "You remember insert my name here?" And Jeff stared at me for a few seconds. I definitely didn't look exactly like I did in middle school, but he stepped closer to me and looked me in the eyes and put his hand out to shake my hand, but didn't say anything to me. Then he went back to drinking the beer he had and joking around. That's the last time I saw him before he died. Jeff died a few years ago. I think from a drug overdose. Heroin probably. He was 27. I determined that at some point his father, who was abusive and likely violent with him when he was a kid, left the family, likely when Jeff was about 15 or 16. It looked like Jeff and his mom and little sister had to leave our town, and they wound up in a crummier, more rundown area. He fell into the druggy crowd in later years after he was kicked out of middle school, and I suppose this shouldn't have been surprising because his older brother overdosed on heroin and died when me and Jeff were in the 7th grade. I remember that going around the school at the time and people talking about it in whispers. It took me until I was 30 years old to put my brief yet meaningful moments with Jeff together. I went my whole life thinking that he was the school bully and I was afraid of him, yet I realized eventually that I never saw him bully anyone and that he never bullied me. I remembered our time on the bus together and our trip to the office, but I couldn't connect the dots at the time. Now I realize that on the bus, Jeff was grateful that I listened to him talk about his dad hitting him, and because I was nice and good to him. When I needed help at the vending machines, he had my back. No questions asked when our substitute teacher did what she did to me. I later realized that this happened after the bus trip and vending machines day. Because I was nice and good to him. When he saw what the teacher did to me, he didn't decide to use me as a way to act out and start trouble. He was just trying to help me because he apparently cared and was concerned. When I saw him after that party was over in high school, he truly did remember me, and he remembered those moments we had together where we had each other's backs in the 6th grade. He could have just said "What's up" when the other guy asked him if he remembered me. But instead of that, he moved towards me and shook my hand, because even after years of having nothing to do with each other, those 6th grade memories came back to him that night, but not to me at the time. At 30, I put it all together. I'm truly sad that has gone, and when we were 6th graders I would have never thought that I would say that about him, feel that way about him, or that he would die young. The guy was the biggest deal and the last person I would have thought wouldn't make it in life. But sadly his demons and troubles took him away. The guy is a childhood legend to me, and I know that he is to other people we grew up with as well. If you haven't read the Ender series you need to. That was purely something out of Speaker for the Dead. I'm now going to reread the full series. You should publish that somewhere. People who knew Jeff will read it. Best real obituary I have ever read. Dude, this is one of the best things I've read on here in a long time. I gotta be honest, I thought it was a copy pasta for the first paragraph or so, but damn, I agree with the other poster. Surely somewhere there's a memorial. Please go and post this. The people who knew him would love to hear this. You'll probably bring a tear to a few folks' eye. Hell, I never knew the guy, and after reading it, I feel like I missed out on knowing him. As a side note, it's amazing what happens when you look back on adolescent relationships as an adult. I've found myself in my mid-30s currently looking back on my high school relationships and being able to see things I didn't notice back then. I'm pretty sure a girl I spent 3 years dating in high school was sexually abused. I was too naive to see it at the time, but I look back and it would absolutely make sense. They say you die twice, once when you stop breathing, and the second a bit later on, when your name is spoken for the last time. Thank you for sharing your memory opus.